All right, folks, we got a great video here. This is from over a year ago, October 9th, 2023, 2 days after the horrific October 7th attack against Israel. We have Kash Patel speaking here on a very little known piece of news footage here in which he's interviewed alongside a CIA operative. Very interesting stuff. Kash Patel is on the verge of becoming the head of the FBI. He will be testifying next week in front of the Senate. Watch what he has to say about both Israel and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Now,
Let me come back to Kash. How much leeway will the United States and the international community give Israel to do exactly what his prime minister is saying? They're going to take back Gaza. That is over.
I think the leeway is as much runway and roadway that the Israelis want and Prime Minister Netanyahu seeks, so long as it is a contained effort and doesn't spill out into other countries responding on behalf of Hezbollah or Hamas or Iran. What do I mean? Is China going to get involved, the CCP? What about Russia? What about other Middle Eastern terrorist organizations and Shia militia groups that are scattered throughout Western Europe? Are they going to get involved, and are they going to get involved on our side of the ocean? That is a very real reality. The southern border is directly tied, in my opinion, to the war that has been launched by Hamas and Iran. They have been flooding our southern border with foreign terrorist organization affiliates for the last 2+ years because it has been an open border policy in the United States of America. The Biden administration has admitted that it has lost track of at least 24 known terrorist affiliates who have come in illegally. That's what they're telling us they know about who they've lost. How many of the 224,000 that come across every month are criminals, cartel members, and other terrorists? This situation is not piecemeal. It is going to come together on the global stage, and the leeway we give Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to depend on what the collective response is going to be from an Iran around the world through its surrogate insurgency campaigns. And I'm afraid that we in the U.S., in terms of intelligence collection standpoint, have completely deprioritized focusing on terrorist organizations. And as your colleague said, it's not 100% of the time, but it's 100% good and great when it's your number one priority. And I think this Biden administration intentionally decided to prioritize things like climate change, as we heard from the White House today, that is the existential threat to the United States of the century. And I happen to disagree.
I have to tell you, Kash, I mean, it was so shocking watching this unfold, and the level, the gliders, the gunmen on motorcycles. I mean, it's just, now you need to people, so I've been to Israel a number of times. This is only in the area of Sadat. This is not in Jerusalem. But how were they able to make the Iron Dome malfunction so there was no detection? It's because they were coming in so quickly, and what they were coming in was so small they could not detect it. And in the process, they showed a weakness in the Iron Dome.
Yeah, I think we have oversold the capabilities of the Iron Dome for far too long. There is no system on planet Earth that is 100% defensible of every single attack that's coordinated against you. That just doesn't exist. That's a fiction. Now the Iron Dome is one of the best systems in the world, but you have to look at the other side. You have to look at the enemy. It goes to the intelligence, planning, and preparation of those individuals over there. This is a months-long war that they have been planning for, if not months, years. And they have based it on ground level intelligence that they have been acquiring through the assistance of the Iranians and Hezbollah and Hamas and every other cooperator they have in the region, every other foreign terrorist organization. And what they did was map this thing out and pick a strategic time to go all in and exploit the evidence gaps, knowing that there would be critical failures. And that is somehow a surprise to everybody here in the United States of America that's working in the Biden administration. And what I mean by that is, how did we not detect that? Where was the IDF? Well, when you have, over the course of 2.5 years now, the erosion of the intelligence database. What is it called? It's called the National Intelligence Priorities Framework, the NIPIF. Every commander-in-chief sets out the priorities that his National Defense Force will focus on every year. And
But I got to tell you something, though. There's something very unique about this. This has been a regional war for a long time. And Hamas has been given a lot of lip service of what they're going to do to Israel. They've talked about the very thing they're doing now. You know, even people in the Arab world just saw it as background noise. They ignored them because they never thought they had the capability of doing it. And so this is really, you know, we can say it's a failure of U.S. policy. Yes, to a certain extent. But still, this is an issue that Israel has been dealing with since the Treaty of Versailles, since the 1919, when they the British put this in place without any thought of putting all these enemies together, expecting them to get along. And it has never worked.
That's my point. Now combine what you and I are saying, right? Israel have been dealing with this. Us, the U.S., have been dealing with this for, what, 50 plus years?
Yes.
And they haven't launched an offensive of this capability. And I'm just saying the degradation of the intelligence community and defense apparatus doesn't happen overnight. It's a years-long decision-making process to continuously degrade and deprioritize mission sets such as Hamas. And I think, and I believe it also happened in the SDF and Israel. Israel has had its own political upheavals in the last 3 years alone.
Chaotic. Divided government.
Chaotic. We have a prime minister who's out of government, who's back in government, and I'm not commenting one way or the other on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm just saying that chaos internally, there is only so much bandwidth. There are only so many people. There's only so much money, and there are only so much machines you can turn on to detect threats to your country.
But you admit the country needs Netanyahu now.
Oh, absolutely. I think as a partner for the United States of America, when I worked with him in the Trump administration, he was one of our greatest partners. And I think that's the leader that country needs in this time. I agree with that. But what you can't do is rewind the tape and say, we should have done these defensive measures 1 year ago, 6 months ago. And what you can't do, in my opinion, if you're Netanyahu, is have a knee-jerk reaction to try to make up for lost time. And that, I think, is going to be a true showing of leadership. If he can have the patience to combine the intelligence and get the allies together and then launch the appropriate style of attack, that will be the true test of leadership.
You know what, the Middle East and their leaders have to be very careful in how much support they give to Israel as they condemn the actions of Hamas.
Well,
Isn't that a very delicate situation?
They have to play a right now in the defense industry to print some money.
Isn't it true that the Middle East and their leaders have to be very careful in how much support they give to Israel as they condemn the actions of Hamas?
Well,
Isn't that a very delicate situation?
They have to play a very delicate situation. You've seen some Middle Eastern countries go out and make public statements in support of the Muslim Brotherhood because they reside in their countries.
That's right.
And we talked about Egypt earlier, but we glossed over the fact that Mohammed Morsi was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, and he was jettisoned, yes, out of power. But there's a strong basis of support. So what is Egypt going to do, knowing that a large portion of the population is involved with that? And then what are our Middle Eastern allies going to do? I mean, remember, the largest recipient of money from the United States for purposes of aid outside of Ukraine now is Egypt. It's been Egypt because of the Sinai Peninsula and the Suez Canal. So are we going to keep giving that money there? Is it going to go to Israel? And if that happens, what are the Middle Eastern partners going to do? They have an almost tougher tightrope to dance than the United States of America does.
Wow. Kash Patel, everybody. Future, incoming, almost FBI Director Kash Patel. He's going to be probably sworn in within a week or two. He's going to be testifying before the Senate next week. Kash Patel is really, I mean, he said it himself. He said Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, is the best leader Israel can have, or as he said, one of the best partners of the United States of America. But as you can see, Kash Patel is also, he's taking the middle road here. He's obviously pro-democracy, pro-Israel. He understands and appreciates the friendship of Israel. He even warns and threatens Egypt and says America might not be giving them all that money anymore. We'll see what happens. But he's also saying, you know, we have to be a little bit nuanced here. We have to be responsible. He's going to say a lot more next week when he testifies before the Senate, but he's making very clear he is pro-Israel, he is pro-democracy, but he wants to be smart about it. He wants to be efficient about it, and we'll see what happens.